Today we'll be making chocolate sugar cookies. The things you'll need will be 1/2 cup and 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder, 1 cup unsalted butter at room temperature. If you have salted butter, that's okay to use, just leave out the salt in this recipe. 1½ cups of sugar, 2 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon vanilla extract, 1/2 teaspoon of almond extract. Now if you don't have any or if you're allergic to nuts, you can leave this out. That is totally fine. And you'll have 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 2 eggs, and 1/8 teaspoon of salt. You'll need measuring spoons and cups. The other tools you'll need will be plastic wrap, 2 mixing bowls, a medium and a large size, a whisk, a spatula, a cookie cutter, I'm using a flour one today, parchment paper, a baking sheet, and a hand mixer. Now we'll be mixing together our dry ingredients. You want to add all of the flour carefully to your bowl so you don't make a mess, the cocoa powder, baking powder, and the salt. You'll whisk together until fully combined. Once mixed, you'll set off to the side and we'll cream together our butter and the sugar. Again, you want to make sure that you have room temperature butter. If you don't have time to leave it out on the counter, you can use a microwave. Some have a butter softening button. It's best to use that. If not, just do it for about 10 seconds at a time. Just keep an eye on it, make sure it does not melt. So, you want to add the room temperature butter to your bowl, maybe. Add it to the bowl with the sugar and you want to mix it together until fully combined. This will take a little bit. It takes me about 2 to 3 minutes because you want to make sure it's nice, light, and fluffy. And once that is all combined, you're going to be adding the eggs. You want to scrape down the sides of the bowl first because you don't want any extra butter chunks in there. You want to get it all down to the middle and then add your eggs one at a time. We do this that way everything is fully combined. You don't have any extra chunks of butter or egg anywhere, so you want to go ahead and add one, mix it up, add the next, and mix it up until fully combined. Once the eggs are added in, we're going to be adding the extracts. Don't forget to scrape down the bowl again because you want to make sure everything is combined. So, add the almond extract and the vanilla extract. Again, if you don't have almond or you can't have it, that's totally fine. It's just a little bit in this recipe. It's used for some extra flavor and sweetness. So once that's combined and you scrape down the sides of the bowl again, you want to set it off to the side for a second. And now we'll bring back the dry ingredients and incorporate it with the other mixture. So you want to do it a little bit at a time because if you do it all at once, you'll get a huge dust cloud and it'll make such a big mess. You don't want to do that. So add a little bit, start on a low speed and mix until you don't see any dry. And then you'll add it again, mix it up, add some more, mix it up. Do it as many times as you need to. I do it about 2 to 3 times, and about halfway through I will scrape the sides of the bowl because again you want to make sure there are no dry spots and everything is fully combined. Once you add the last of the mixture, again you want to start on a low speed, and once everything is starting to come together and you don't see as many dry spots, you can increase the speed. This will start to get a little bit thick once everything is almost in there, so you want to make sure you get the sides and the bottom of the bowl. That's why we scrape down the sides, because we don't want any extra dry pieces throughout the dough. Alright, now that everything is ready, we want to get 2 pieces of plastic wrap and we're going to split the dough in half and we're going to chill it. So we do this because since it's a sugar cookie recipe and we want to cut out shapes, it's easier to work with when it's cold. So you want to go ahead and take it and put it in the plastic wrap and kind of spread it out a little bit in there. You want it to be a little bit thinner, that way it will chill faster. We're going to do this again with the rest of the dough and make sure we scrape out all the good pieces. And we're going to put this in the fridge for about an hour. You can leave this in there for longer, up to overnight or even a few days. You just want to make sure that it's cold enough to work with and that it will keep its shape. And now that our dough is chilled, you can go ahead and preheat the oven to 350 degrees. Take one of the blocks of dough and break off a piece to work with. Whatever you're not using, it's best to put it in the fridge and keep it cold in there because again, you want it pretty chilled while you work with it. And we're going to be sprinkling cocoa powder on the surface. With this, since it's a chocolate recipe, you want to use cocoa powder because regular all-purpose flour will leave it a little bit dry and it will change the color. So you want to put cocoa powder all over, make sure it doesn't stick. Don't forget to put it on your rolling pin, and you want to roll it out to be about a 1/4 inch thick. So I would call them kind of like training wheels on mine because it helps it get to a consistent thickness and it is set for exactly a 1/4 inch. So you want to be careful with doing that because if your cookies are uneven, they will bake unevenly as well. So as soon as you have it all rolled out, you can cut out your shapes and get as many as you can. Take the excess dough, roll it out again. This gave me about 34 cookies. And before you put them in the oven, you want to line them up on the baking sheet. They won't spread out very much because if you put them in the freezer, it will help them keep their shape. So put them in the freezer for about 5 minutes and then throw them in the oven. They bake for about 12 minutes. But every oven is different, so you want to keep an eye on it. Check it after 12 minutes. If they're still too soft, you can leave them in there for another minute or 2. You don't want them to get too hard because it is a little hard to tell if they're burning because they are already dark and chocolate. And you want to go ahead and do this as many times as you need to, and you'll have about 30 cookies if you want to do regular size, or depending on the cookie cutter, you'll have multiple cookies. And there you have it, a simple chocolate sugar cookie recipe.